can't stay.
Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Bamboozled. Now this movie is from 2000 and it stars Damon Wayans and Savion Glover. Now before we get into all things man, tan, and sleep and eat, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, then we're going to come back and discuss, will there ever be a time when something like Bamboozled or Black people as a whole being bamboozled won't be relevant? Sadly, no.
Go back.
Now that you guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me, let's get into this movie. But before we jump into the film, I have to give a shout out to the person who paid for it and requested it. So if you happen to know something, Mr. Charlie, I don't know nothing about that. All I know is I'm here to be happy, give a little dance, and do a little soft shoe. It's not because of me. It's because of this person right here. Thank you so much for supporting me and paying for this content. Now, getting into this movie was directed, written, and produced all by the one and only Spike Lee. Need I say more? I don't even think I can elaborate on him or how I feel about his films any more than I've done in the countless reviews that I've done for his movies on the channel already. But this movie, however, it's dark, comedic, and filled with satire, much like your Heathers or a more recent film, Don't Look Up. Now, satire is used most often when the topic at hand is considered to be taboo, controversial, violence, sex, politics, and race, offering really heavy-handed commentary on it disguised as a parody or a comedy when it's most often just to criticize it. And just like another film by Spike Lee that was filled with satire, Girl 6, this movie too was misunderstood, underappreciated, and bombed at the box office. When at the time, Spike Lee was so passionate about this film that it was shot in mini digital video using a Sony camera, which is why the movie looks the way it does. This kept costs down and kept him under his $10 million budget. This is one of the few films Spike Lee has done that wasn't so much about the beauty in the cinematography, the lighting, the shots. This movie was purely about the message. This was also a step outside the box for your Damon Wayans, Tommy Davidson, who you mostly are familiar with from their In Living Color roots, as well as all of the comedic films that they've done previously. And after this was definitely a change of pace for the both of them. But for me personally, this was the Savion Glover show. Do y'all remember when Savion was outside? He was everywhere in the 90s. I remember the first time seeing him, I believe I was watching the Jamie Foxx show. I don't know who this is, but he is tap dancing his ass off. Of course, once I got older and watched movies like Tap and got to see him dance with his fellow mentor, Gregory Hines, off-Broadway musicals like Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk, Savion was one of the few people, especially young people, keeping the dying art form of tap dancing alive. Really in the limelight for the time, and for something so traditional, he didn't look like your typical old school tap dancer. We had these freeform dreads, baggy jeans. He looked very modern and made it seem cool to tap dance or do ballet, especially when you saw him break out into dance in one of your favorite music videos or on a television show. You really don't hear him spoken on at all now, but he was definitely gifted and talented. Now we meet Pierre Delacroix, a bougie, uptight, intellectual, Harvard-educated brother with a slight hint of pretentious, working in television but often referring to a TV as an idiot box. With the help of his assistant Salone, Pierre is responsible for producing great TV that the masses want to watch, that's successful. Only problem is, what he's producing lately, nobody shows any interest in watching it. I love when we have Pierre de la Croix say, with the internet and video games, over 900 channels to choose from, our audience is eroding. Like, way back when, I could not fathom and digest why Damon was talking in this fashion. Why I was like, what is going on with his voice? Now, I absolutely understood it. But watching this big charade over network television and what's going to be shown, talks of competing with 900 channels in video games, was laughable when we get into now. TV, network television now, is dead. Speaking on network television, because we wouldn't want to see any dignified black people there now, would we? We meet Mr. Dunwitty. An office filled with black athletes, Dunwitty feels like he has the innate right to say ninja because of his proximity to blackness via his black wife and his biracial children. Because I know more than anybody in this room, and what they really want to do, what they desire to do more than anything, is just simply laugh. We're not making the laugh. Believing that he's blacker and has more flavor than the out-of-touch Oreo that is Pierre, who keeps on pitching these Cosby-like, adjacent, clean-cut, upwardly mobile, dignified black people shows. Placed on high alert to present new ideas that'll make them laugh and won't get low ratings, Pierre, who's yet to receive any recognition for any of the shows that he's done so far that were all canceled. Pierre would much rather be fired, presenting a show with black people that's so offensive that the network should decide to automatically terminate him. In comes Man Ray, who's been sitting underneath our nose the entire time. Now, in total contrast to someone like Pierre de la Croix, Man Ray and Womack, who I felt like were fashioned after your Josephine Bakers, your Bojangles, maybe even a Sammy Davis Jr., maybe not afforded as many opportunities, and are struggling street performers trying to make ends meet until hopefully they get a big break. But until then, we're homeless squatters who perform on the street for money, with Man Ray being our talented tap dancer and Womack being our mouthpiece, our hype man who gets the crowd going and gets the money flowing. Living day to day off of the tips that they may receive, Man Ray and Womack, more so Man Ray, constantly fantasizes about the material things that he could get, because I could definitely use a new sweater, some new underwear, some heel nigga jeans. I always wanted a pair of heel nigga jeans. Like, I would love to have some tap shoes that don't require bottle caps to get the tap. Tired of struggling and being a half knot, Man Ray and even a reluctant Womack jump at the idea to be a part of De La's show. However, this requires wearing a little bit of blackface. Man Ray would become Man Tan and Womack would become Sleep and Eat. Both characters are a play on actors/comedians like Mantan Moreland or Lincoln Perry, also known as Step and Fetch It. Now, throughout their careers, I don't believe that either one of these men adorn any blackface, but they are most definitely an extension and a result of it. Much like the Amos and Andy show from the 1950s, being directly adapted from a 1930s radio broadcast comedy show of two white men pretending to be two black men who are coming from the deep south all the way up to the city looking for opportunity. Not only was the portrayal hella offensive, but these men often wore blackface to promote their characters. This broadcast is a part of radio history, but it also went on to have one of the first TV shows on television that had an all-black cast be full of stereotypes. And the same can be said for film when we mention your Lincoln Perrys, your Mantan Mortons, or even your Hattie McDaniels, portraying stereotypes: lazy, simple-minded, slow-talking, frightened, hunched over shoulders, big eyes, cackling, subservient, and inferior. Now, even though these portrayals opened a lot of doors for Black Hollywood back then, with things like Hattie McDaniels being the first Black woman to win an Oscar, Lincoln Perry being one of the first Black men to get his name in the credits of a movie, the first black actor to become a millionaire, but neither one of them are revered because of who they had to portray to receive these accolades. But some people do give them grace, acknowledging at the time that it was either this or nothing. You portrayed these characters or you didn't work. You could either be a maid or play one on TV. Now, with Pierre's fake man-tan new millennial minstrel show all ready to go, it only seems like at this point, Womack and assistant Salone have the reservations. But what does it matter? This is all supposed to be a charade of a show that's going to get him fired. Meant to be immoral, meant to be politically incorrect. Things like Lil Nigga Jim, Sambo, and Auntie Mama, Alabama porch monkeys eating watermelon on a plantation are so carelessly thrown around. Now, what's interesting about Pierre is that we set out with intent to just solely be fired, but the more and more success he sees, the further away the goalpost is moved as to why we are doing a modern day minstrel show. Now, it's not so much about being fired, but that this should be a satirical eye-opener for not only black people, but white people. As for what's to come in black entertainment, do you see how offensive this show is? Well, yeah, it's not too far away from the other things that gets engagement from the audience. Do you see why you should appreciate some of the things that I have tried to present as Pierre Delacroix that was canceled? Man, Tan, and Sleep and Eat are supposed to be a wake-up call. Now, of course, on the road to actually making the show, with this being a Spike Lee joint and him not holding his tongue for nobody, there are so many pockets of just information and him pointing the finger at studios, networks, Hollywood to go, Like the fact that we have a whole writer's room full of white people all ready to go and write for an all-black cast. And there's never any real point of reference, any shared cultural experiences, often writing things in a manner that a black person would never express themselves. One-dimensional stereotypes that paint a negative picture. We always get those same goddamn characters. And then it comes to a point where it's just like, you know what, hey, they're not just writing it like this because this is what they want to see on the page. This is what you think about all of us. I love when this all-white round table speaks on, Kid Dynamite, and here comes the judge. Here comes the judge. Hey, I didn't know a whole lot of black people growing up. Those were my first encounters and interpretations of who black people were. Just like in that whole 18th and 19th century, with performers like Jim Crow and countless others in blackface, the white audience had no personal experience with a black person. Painted faces, imitating slaves, laziness, dancing, distressed clothes, black talk, no sir, Mr. Charlie, the exaggerated red lips, the white gloves that are still worn in those goddamn Disney cartoons till this day. Oh, they must all be like this. This is absolutely hilarious. So in Hollywood, we don't need black actors to actually portray black people. We can just hire a white one, so normalized to the point that Hollywood darlings like Judy Garland or Shirley Temple all wore blackface. You know what? I'm a black entertainer. I want to work. I'm going to wear blackface also, just so I can get my foot in the door, even though I have to be a parody of my own damn self. By the time we were hired and put into films without blackface, the representation was already set in stone, led by a white character, always happy to serve, always happy to cook, dance, protect, offer pure, unwavering devotion with a smile. For the same reason that they do it now, to give that interpretation that we were always and forever just simply happy to be there, even when we were slaves. What was ever really wrong with it? Equal parts as funny as it is informative, like the fact that Man Ray and Womack aren't the only people desperate for a job, for an opportunity, when we have a line around the block of other talented black people eager to be a part of this show. I be smacking my hoes. I be smacking my hoes. And everyone knows, trip 'em on the ground, kick on the floor. I be smacking my hoes. Or even when you get into things like, oh, niggas is a beautiful thing. Like, oh, we are feeling everything. All of this is great. Even when we have the Roots, Black Thought, Questlove, and the crew sign up to be the sounds of Plantation as band on this damn show. The more degrading, the better. So while something like niggas is a beautiful thing, yo, oh, you would be perfect as the announcer. All of this is great. However, there seems to be no place for Mama, consisting of rappers Mos Def, here as Julia's brother to Salone, or Big Black Africa, Charlie Baltimore, MC Search, and Cannabis, all black. BLAK. Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? While hilarious, we are also pro-black, militant, we smoke, we drink, and rap, all while shouting about reparations. Nor does Big Black Africa's sister or Pierre Delacroix want anything to do with Mama, which means a threat, confrontational, and hostile. Definitely here to represent what the industry wants to suppress. Though we are hostile, though we are confrontational, we are also conscious and really talented. Feeling some way about the lack of smoke for them in something like the Mantan show being presented to the masses, this resentment slowly grows into retaliation. You ain't never seen no niggas sitting here on the fiddle. You ain't never seen no niggas like this that's getting down on the fiddle. Watch this, like, oh, I ain't worried about money in the middle because I got my funky fiddle. It is absolutely showtime now. We see their show plenty of times, but I feel like the very first show, I'm tired. You're tired of all these so-called Bible thumping, swing low, sweet cherry, God-fearing, GP, are you with me? Whoremongering, professional athletes. If you a fine mother, won't you back that ass up? Cousins, I want you to go to your windows. Yell out, scream with all the strength that you could muster up in your bruised and battered bodies and yell, I'm sick and tired and I'm not gonna take it anymore. This sets the tone for the rest of the show. Burnt corkscrew, red lips, those pristine white Walt Disney gloves, fried chicken, watermelon, Mr. Charlie, chicken coop, chicken soup dance of it all. Man Ray and Womack as Sleeping Eat and Mantan gain enough celebrity and popularity to become really wealthy and get anything that they have ever wanted. What was once offensive is now celebrated to the point that we have merchandise, to the point that we could have children wearing blackface as Halloween costumes, or we could have a whole studio audience wearing blackface, shouting to the rooftops, proclaiming themselves to be real niggas. We are now a brand. That very first performance set the tone for this. Not the network ordering, those 13 episodes, this, that, and the third. That was always going to be there. When we get to the point of the audience reaction, of course, we have, the little cue above that tells the audience when to laugh. But majority of that white audience, as well as everybody else, were unsure about what to do. This is offensive. I don't know what to say or how to react. Once they see majority of the black audience laughing at what should be problematic to them, then we are okay with laughing at it ourselves. Meanwhile, our creators and cast grow further and further apart. Womack becomes more and more uneasy with every single performance, no longer wanting to represent Sleep and Eat persona that he presents on stage, even if it is making him money. Now, Mantan, on the other hand, is very, very content, all the way to the point that his ego becomes about this big. What is the problem? We are making money. We have everything that we could have ever wanted. These are just characters. I am just performing. In fact, you might be dragging me down. It was me who put you in them heel nigga jeans. Like Spike Lee being so on the nose with things like heel nigga jeans, definitely calling out Tommy Hilfiger and different companies like him. Like, you only call on the black people, rappers, entertainers when you want to strut and endorse your streetwear heel nigga. Tammy. Though funny, it is so true. All the way down to bomb, baby, bomb. It makes you get your freak on. Yeah, St. Ives and Old English malt liquor commercials. Why do we have to be called on to sell that? Now, out of all people, Salone's ass, was the person I had the biggest problem with. Like, I think it was more so because she kept straddling the fence. Like, at least Pierre's ass made it very clear as far as why he was doing what he did, and he picked a side. Salone was just somewhere in the middle, wagging her finger. Moral voice of reason finds issue with what they're doing, constantly speaks against it, educated in its origins in history, but never enough to walk away. We are often there giving input from the very beginning all the way pretty much to the very end as how to go about presenting this show in these characters, but it's all kind of under the umbrella of I'm solely here doing my job, supporting and following Pierre. I don't really have any control here. What I can maybe do is be a little whistleblower in the corner as to say, is that really okay? Should we be doing this? But we had no problem laughing at a whole lot of the show. We had no problem cheering on Pierre and everybody else once we received our accolades that we were a part of as his assistant. We are educated and we are informing others. We can't also do that while simultaneously contributing to the problem. She never actually walked away. In fact, in the end, she was actually fired. Though we hated the way we had to go about it, a step up for Pierre is also a step up for me. And I worked too damn hard to get to where I am. We're gonna talk about the kind of work she was doing, once we get to that part of the film. Now, Pierre, who is actually peerless, has been trying to get away from one thing his entire life, ending up like his father, Junebug, or Paul Mooney. A great comedian, but was never digestible for a white audience, never had any desire to conform, and wound up with nothing to show for himself, just solely content with working small gigs. Absolutely no real setup for a future. Junebug's style of comedy within the movie is just, Paul Mooney's comedy. And if you are a fan or you know anything about Paul Mooney, it's not for everyone. But with him being the type of comedian that he is, I don't want to be for everyone. Even if that means I don't have as much as I could have if I, for lack of a better word, sold out. Peerless ass, on the other hand, I never want to wind up being like Junebug. Wasted potential? Passing up this opportunity, though problematic, this is the most praise that I have ever seen, the most money, and the most accolades that I have ever gotten. And if I have to disappoint my father or disappoint my own mother, that's what I'm going to do. Even if I have to publicly become a martyr for this show. Endorsing it, all in the videos, all on the records, all up at the goddamn radio station. Pierre, Peerless, was absolutely gone. I love when we have the meeting with the white, marketing media creator, and she's like, oh, we need to put Black people not only on the stage, on the show, but we need to make sure they surround the show in every facet, behind the camera, in front of the camera, make you the face, a little kente cloth, so when anybody has anything to say about the buffoonery that we are putting out into the world, we can say, you know what, look at all of the jobs that we are providing Black people with what we are putting out. You know who got hit with the stray and he didn't even know it. Maintaining, the sleep, eating, lazy, unemployed stereotype doesn't mean we're painting you all with the same brush. Yes, it does. I say this for the same reason I give pushback when somebody goes, well, what's so wrong with blackface? What about white chicks, or when Black people done whiteface? If y'all could do it, we should be able to do it too. The stakes for that are completely different. Sean and Marlon wearing a little white face does not shape white culture or society. Though both of them can be offensive, no one looks at white chicks and decides to paint all white women with the same brush. Historically, it holds absolutely no weight. Black people, however, this shaped how we would be perceived, looked at, and represented forever. It's the same reason that Dave Chappelle, way back when, ran his ass to Africa when they offered him that $50 million over there at Comedy Central. Getting into this movie, of course, that infamous Oprah interview can break it down way better than I ever could, but being dismissed as crazy because don't you have creative control, Dave? What is wrong with the network offering you more money for a third season? You get into conversations of his skits maybe not being socially conscious, being a little irresponsible, not really having a whole lot of ethics, lacking a little bit of integrity. You guys wanting more of this, less of that, starting to dictate. Meanwhile, I'm feeling a sense of, everybody kind of laughing at me and not so much with me. What am I really doing? I'm unsure. These people trying to set me up. It was giving Mantan with a hint of Pierre. I'm getting out of here. Life in a scary way was imitating art with that entire situation. Womack Sleep and Eat felt like he needed to get the hell out of there. I am fed up with you as Mantan, and I'm just fed up with all of this. You're forgetting where we came from and who we really are. Mantan, and especially Pierre, are sticking to the same shit they stick to today when we see a lot and find it offensive. You're behind, you're lacking, you have a slave mentality. Let it go and laugh. It's not that deep. It's not that serious. Meanwhile, Pierre, slowly turning into a house nigga himself, is completely in the sunken place to the point that he has a whole office full of blackface and different collectibles, showing just how unproblematic he thinks it is and how much pride he takes in it. Even gives Man Ray the last pair of shoes, tap shoes, that Mr. Bill Bojangles Robinson wore when he died. And everybody knows that Bojangles literally worked and tapped himself into an early grave to die broke and penniless. Everything in the end comes to a head when Mama, decides that enough is enough and tries to take a stand. Once romantically linked out of nowhere to Salone, I really felt like they dropped the ball a little bit with that situation. Though we know the movie isn't at all about them, it was like, oh, they together? But clearly being with Man Ray in her downtime, whispering logical sweet nothings of information in his ear to why he should fix his relationship with Womack and why what they're doing is so wrong. Now, all for a different reason, Pierre, Dunwitty, the network, and her own brother do not like the fact that she is with Mantan. You're messing up the money. You're telling him what he should and shouldn't do. We need him focused on getting on that stage, putting on that blackface, and tap dancing. Back off or get fired for it. Now, what I found to be the most interesting thing about the situation was the fact that Pierre and Salone had a previous relationship and were sleeping together. Now, the relationship did fail, with Pierre most of the time being interested in white women. We all know why, but she still works with and underneath him as his assistant, all the while Pierre, at the first opportunity that he gets, presents her to Man Ray as an opportunist that he needs to stay away from. As educated and as great at her job as Salone was, with De La being the first man to give her an opportunity, did she sleep with him before or after she got it? Doesn't really matter. As a woman, a black woman, she would never be taken seriously by Pierre. Who she is and how she got there is always going to be put into question. He threw it in her face and threw a little mud on her name as soon as he had the opportunity to do so. Salone was not afforded to have any grace. Probably shouldn't have slept with Pierre. Man Ray, finally seeing the bigger picture, begins to drift away. Am I a puppet? And if so, who am I a puppet for? And do I actually want to be one? Is it all worth it? Do I just want to be a nigga because now everybody wants to be one? Against the pressure from Pierre, the network, and Dunwitty, Mantan comes out as Man Ray and presents the same line that he said in the pilot episode, only we say it a little bit differently. I'm tired. I'm personally tired of being a nigga. I don't want to do this anymore. Still tap dancing, still got, the fast feet, still got educated feet, displaying the exact same talent that I gave you before. Only now, instead of me acting like a tap nigga, I'm saying I'm personally tired of being one. Nobody wants to see regular Man Ray, no blackface, and regular clothes stating what's so wrong about being in a modern day minstrel show and what it's doing to him. Finally taking a stance, but it's a little too late. Mama, who's been feeling some type of way for the entirety of the movie, kidnapped Man Ray with plans to have a public execution. For what? For dancing? No, because of what you are doing to your own people. The image, the voice, it is all representing us in the worst way on a massive scale. Man Ray is held at gunpoint, forced to tap dance, and eventually gunned down doing so. Unable to be found, unable to be saved, shot up for the world to see. Mama, Pierre, Salone have all lost a bit of their insanity and have started to kind of go crazy since this whole thing has started. I must have cackled so hard when Mama was gunned down by the freaking police and MC searched the one white member of the black crew. Don't shoot me. Why y'all didn't shoot me? I'm black. Like, even in the middle of the most black and most militant group, you are still Caucasian. We're not gonna shoot you going over there. A distraught Salone, feeling like she has lost everything from Man Ray to her own brother, shows up and forces Pierre to watch a videotape of old school blackface imagery stating, look at what you did, look at what you presented. Are you happy? Are you proud of yourself? Having no accountability whatsoever for herself or the role that she played. Shooting a Pierre who is not too far from going crazy himself. We see now that he's wearing the blackface, which to me was the inner battle that Pierre had with himself all along, becoming just what the networks and people like Dunwitty always wanted you to be. Now, Mama and Salone, who both caught bodies, even though Pierre politely wiped her fingerprints off, represented the same thing to me. The both of them were trying to kill the source. For Mama, who were watching it on TV every single day and finding it just disgusting, felt like Mantan and Sleep and Eat were the source. We need to kill that. Salone felt like Pierre was the source. I need to kill him. When either of them really accomplish anything. If the network chose to, they could easily hire new actors, a brand new Mantan, a brand new Sleep and Eat. You could easily replace a brother like Pierre. The power never lied in Pierre or Mantan's hands. It was more so the networks who could easily push it out and put it right back up, and the people who support and watch it. Now, do minstrel shows still exist today? Sadly, yes, and I'm not talking about all the way over there across the water in the Netherlands where it's embraced to celebrate that Dutch holiday. On TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, all social media platforms, it's profitable. Now, are most of these men and women wearing blackface? No, but a lot of the antics and behaviors are still there, and it's just purely disguised as humor. It's a way to get on, become successful, and it's literally everywhere. And just like in this movie, if you find any issue with it and try to call it out, you are behind in the times. It's not that deep. Go outside and touch some grass. This is an opportunity to make money. This might even just be, black boy joy. Like, everything is thrown your way. Why so serious? Don't be a hater. Just laugh and enjoy the content. Isn't it funny? A lot of the times? No. Well, you guys, that was my review for Bamboozled. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop down and tell me what you think. And of course, like this video. For this one in particular, I will definitely be down there reading those comments. Of course, if I got anything wrong or left anything out, if you want to check me a little bit, put that in the comments too. You're not always outside for that. But if you get extra, lock, unlock, the trunk stay locked. block on cock, the block stay high. You will get blocked. Don't come up in here being extra. Always opinionated, but always respectful also. I look forward to reading you guys' comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I see you guys next time for my next review. Bye.